Today on Budget Nerd, I'll be upgrading the headlights on the Stang. I didn't see many videos on these headlights, so I figured I'd do one. Yes, the urge to mod my Mustang continues with these, the Spec-D tuning projector headlights for the 2005 to 2009 Ford Mustangs. Currently, they can be found on Amazon for around $258, but check the link, it may change. This video is sort of a review, but mostly just a vlog, I guess, with an install guide. I'm mostly just doing it for fun. And yes, I purchased all of these things with my own money. I do think they look pretty cool. Naturally, that's why I bought them. I wanted some kind of modern LED look. I almost got the Raxium ones on AmericanMuscle.com, but they cost quite a bit more. And the LEDs on these, I think, look better, since they taper off and add depth to the LEDs. They feel pretty good, and feel solid. In person, they look just as good as they do in the pictures. On the back, you have 2 screws to adjust the headlight, which is nice. These are vents to help dissipate heat, or maybe to help with condensation, perhaps. This center cap does rotate off, letting you replace the halogen bulb that it comes with. The bulb size it uses is H9, in case you want to change it down the road. The instructions are okay. They do show you each step, but these pictures are almost unusable. Hence another reason for this video. The instructions also tell you to connect the LEDs to the amber or yellow lights that go on when you turn your headlights on halfway or to the middle position. You know what I mean, right? This means if you follow their instructions, your LED lights will not go on unless you manually turn them on, and your parking lights and tail lights will be on all the time, if you want your LEDs to be on all the time. That might work for most, and some may even prefer that. However, I am nerdier than this and can do one better. I wanted them to behave more like modern cars' stock LED lights, namely, come on themselves and always be on when the car is on without me having to do anything. For this, we'll need to find a circuit in the car that is always providing power when the key is on, and that won't when it's off. More on that later. Anyway, let's get started with the install. You'll need a few tools like wire cutters, wire strippers, screwdrivers, pliers, knife, electrical tape, socket wrench, some sockets, a multimeter, or some electrical detection device, a few 5 or 10 amp fuses, a fuse tap, wire taps, and some electrical connectors. This may not be a complete list, but it should give you a good baseline. Before you dive into the install, make sure you're comfortable enough with electricity and are somewhat mechanically inclined. Modify your Stang at your own risk. I'm certainly not a pro. Before you really dive in, make sure you disconnect the ground from the battery. There are a few times where we will need it connected, but if you don't need it connected, make sure it isn't. To do what I wanted to do with these LEDs, the easiest way is to use an add a circuit or a fuse tap. They will let you piggyback on an existing circuit and let you create another one. They're pretty neat. Find a fuse box in your Stang you want to add a circuit to. It's usually best to use the closest fuse box, like the one under the hood, but there's also one in the passenger footwell. I'll use the one under the hood. If you're doing what I'm doing, you want to find a circuit that doesn't provide power when the key is off, but will provide power when the key is on. You could use any of these small mini fuses. Get out your voltage tester or multimeter. If you're using a multimeter, set it to DC voltage and place the black probe on the negative terminal on the battery. You'll obviously need your battery connected for this. With the key off, start probing the fuses and find any that do not provide any power. Once you find them, or at least a few that may work, find out what they do. You really don't want to tap into anything that's important to the car's function, like fuel pumps, starters, sensors, and that kind of thing. Once you narrow it down to a few, see if they provide power when the key is on. If they do, you're in business. The only two in the engine bay fuse box I found that behave this way are 40 and 42. The diagram says they are engine number 2 and engine number 3. Now, I'm not sure what they are or what they do, and I wasn't able to find much online. If someone knows what they are, comment below. I decided to use 40. Before we move on to the wiring, it's worth talking about the fuse taps for a minute. They are pretty simple and make this sort of thing pretty easy, but you do have to know a few things about them if you choose to use one. Once you find the circuit you want to use in your fuse box, pull the fuse, and put that fuse in the bottom of the fuse tap. The new fuse for your new circuit will go on the top. The last thing to know is you have to find which side of your fuse plug in your fuse box is hot or has power. You could plug the fuse tap in either way and it would work, but you should always plug this side into the hot side of the fuse port in your fuse box to avoid potential issues. This may help you understand why. Behind the plastic, electrically, this is what these look like. They are designed to have power on this side. Then the presence of the fuse will determine which circuit has power. If power comes on this side, as it should, each circuit is truly powered separately. If this one blows, this one will continue, and if this one blows, this one will keep going. If you plug it in the wrong way, and power comes in through this one, then the new circuit is now dependent on the bottom one as well, and the amperage for both circuits go through the bottom fuse, potentially causing it to blow. If the bottom one blows, neither circuits get power. Make sure you plug the power in on this side, and you're good. To find out which side has power, you should find a spare mini fuse and snap it in half. Carefully place it in one side and with the key on, probe it to see if there's power. If there is no power, put it in the other side and check for power there. Once you find out which side has the power, you'll know which way you'll need to plug in your fuse tap. Now you'll be able to see if you have room for it, or if it will work in this spot. If not, you may need to find another fuse or circuit to use. Mine really didn't fit because this bolt was in the way. I was able to slightly modify my fuse tap and got it to fit, but if you aren't sure you want to do that, then you might need to try another circuit or use the fuse box in the passenger footwell located in the cab. Once I sorted that out, I started to prepare the headlight LED wires. I fastened these little electrical connectors to them to make unhooking them a bit easier should I need to in the future. I decided to make my own little wire harness as well to keep it neat. And yes, I should have used black wire, but I used what I had. I started with connecting the hot wire to the fuse tap, but it turns out its own crimp wasn't very good, so I decided to just solder it. Warning, I'm not great at soldering. It's not pretty, but it'll work. Here it is, all done, and laid out so you can see how it was made. I laid it out in the car to give you an idea also of how it gets connected. This end will go to the negative terminal on the battery. This is the fuse tap that will go in fuse 40's spot. I used wire splices here to run power to the first headlight's LEDs. Then the harness ends over here at the second headlight's LEDs. Don't cable manage or do anything permanent yet. Before we can test, let's get them installed. To change the headlights on the S197 Mustang, you need to pull the bumper off. It's not that difficult, but it is a minor pain for sure. I won't cover that in this video. There are plenty of videos that do cover pulling the bumper off. With the bumper removed, you can disconnect the wire for the headlight bulb, and then remove the 3 bolts and this plastic retainer. The plastic retainer was super brittle, and I wasn't able to get it out without breaking it, but it's okay. It really looks like it's not that important, or you could order replacements if you want. The headlight should just pull away now. Do the same thing on the other side. Now we can put in the new headlight. Slide it into place while you feed the wires through the hole. Fasten it in place with the 3 bolts and then connect the headlight harness. Don't forget that little plastic fastener if you didn't break it. You can repeat this now on the other side for the other headlight. Now the only thing left is hooking up the LEDs with our wire harness we made. Again, don't make it pretty, just get them connected, and make sure they work, and make sure your battery is disconnected before doing this part. Connect the LED wires at each headlight, plug in your fuse tap to whatever circuit you ended up using, and then connect ground to the negative battery's screw like I did. Go turn on your key to the on position. You don't need to actually start the engine, and see if the lights come on. If you wired it like I did, they should come on if the key is on and turn off when the key is off. If you wired them like the instructions say, turn on your headlights and see if they come on. If they work and the headlights also work when you turn them on, then you can disconnect the battery and cable manage and hide the harness you made. Here it is, all done. I think they look pretty cool. The LED bars aren't quite as bright as I had hoped they'd be, but they'll have to do. One thing I do not like is these fancy LED headlights come with a normal halogen headlight bulb. Next to the LEDs, they look dated and dingy. You could do what I did and purchase some LED bulbs to replace them. This will make the presentation more uniform and will look so much better and brighter. If you do want LED headlight bulbs, just make sure you check your local laws. Sometimes they aren't allowed, or there may be some restrictions. And at the very least, make sure they are not aimed up too high, blinding other drivers, and if they are, adjust them. Upon my first drive at night, it was obvious I needed to adjust mine. They were very low. Thankfully, these headlights do have knobs you can turn to adjust them. Adjusting them was pretty easy. There are 2 bolts on the back for making vertical and horizontal changes. And once adjusted, the lights were pretty bright, much better than OEM. In the end, I do like these lights, with my only wish being the LEDs were brighter. Well, hopefully, this was helpful or entertaining. If you want to do this to your Stang, don't forget there are links in the description to the headlights and other tools and parts I used if you need them. Well, let me know what you think, or what mods you've done to your Stang or car, and as always, thanks for watching.